activity online about the Z1 workstation, so I'm glad to see that. Pretty incredible. So for this afternoon, I don't know, can we bring up the agenda slide again? Have we got that handy? This afternoon we're going to hear from a couple of our partners, Jeff Brown from Nvidia, Chris Bradshaw from Autodesk. I'll introduce both of them. And then we'll talk a little bit about the breakout sessions that we have after they're done. And then, of course, we're back in here for the experience zones to give you some real live demos of how people will be using their Z1 workstations. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Jeff Brown. He's the general manager of the professional graphics group at Nvidia, and he's going to roll a quick video reel and then come up on stage. So we will welcome Jeff when we get done with the video.
Post-launch. So it's a pleasure to be here for another really breakthrough product announcement from HP. Real pleasure to be involved with this launch, and it was really tough keeping it under wraps, Jeff. So I think everybody feels relieved to be able to talk about Z1 today. What Jeff asked us to do today, and I was happy to see that in the first part of today, there were a lot of questions about graphics, and hopefully between this little 15-minute or so overview and the breakouts that we're holding after this, most of your questions will be answered. We've got plenty of time for Q&A specifically on the graphics side. So with me today is Sean Kilbride. Sean Kilbride is from our technical marketing group as well. He also supports a lot of the technical graphics reviews. Some of you may know Sean from that interaction. So again, so what I'll do today is describe a little bit about the background with respect to the collaboration between the companies. But I'll start really with kind of an overview of Nvidia for those of you who are not familiar with the company. Nvidia is a unique company in that all we do are GPUs. One of actually the last remaining sole GPU provider in the world. We build GPUs that go into cell phones. It's called Tegra, all the way to supercomputers. That's called Tesla. So there's a very, very scalable range of GPUs that are increasingly being used not just for graphics, but also for computation and things like image processing. So the Z1 is a natural extension of these form factors. Again, everything from phones to servers to cars, and now these amazing compact all-in-one form factors. Oops, let me go back. What we thought we would start with is a little bit of a demo here to set the tone, talk to you guys about what the state-of-the-art graphics looks like today. So to do this, we're going to cut the lights, we're going to cut over to Sean, and we're going to start flying through literally an endless city. It kind of looks like the Strip at night, but let's describe a little bit about what's going on here and what's so amazing about this demo. So what you're seeing here is a couple of very key new graphics features that will start to be exposed in a lot of the applications that our users are going to start to use. In particular, what you're seeing here is something called dynamic lighting, as well as what's called procedurally generated geometry through a technique called tessellation. So as Sean zeroes in on this Sphinx model here, you can see the detail. It's incredible contextual detail. You may have thought that you've seen this before in a game or game engine, but those are typically done using tricks like texture mapping or decaling. What you can see here is if Sean goes to the underlying geometry, The base, what's called the base geometry, what the artist actually has to model is very simple. But through these tessellation techniques, the geometry is basically auto-generated to create just incredible level of detail. And the beauty about this engine here is as we fly through, we can basically change the level of detail on the fly. So this makes super efficient use of the geometry processing of the GPU. You should also note there's about 500,000 lights in this scene. Just a few years ago, having a few dozen lights would have been considered breakthrough. Now we've got almost 500,000 lights. That creates this amazing ambiance and atmosphere within the demo itself. And you can see these individual point lights and how the lights are actually casting dynamic shadows and creating just a lot of depth and a lot of real detail to the scene. You can see the frame rate is incredibly smooth. One thing that's amazing to know about this is Sean's got gen wireframe right here. This is an incredibly dense wireframe. There are no tricks going on here. This is real geometry, this is real shaders, and this is real lighting. I think what's super amazing about this is this is actually running in a Z1 with a Quadro 4000 graphics engine. This would have taken at least 2 of our highest end GPUs, call it a year ago. So HP's ability to basically accommodate this kind of graphics capability in this kind of amazing form factor is totally unique in the industry. There is no other system in the world that can basically handle this kind of graphics capability. So it really portends the future of the capabilities of this system, particularly what our users are looking for. So anyway, thank you, Sean. Let's cut back to the PowerPoint. Beautiful looking. Okay, so why Quadro? Quadro, we've enjoyed about a 10+ year relationship with HP. Quadro is the professional choice for GPUs. And as Jim said earlier today, it all starts with the users and the applications that they use. So what we really strive to do is build a very unique, scalable set of solutions for professionals who are performing these really critical tasks and typically using applications, ISV applications. So over the years, Quadro has become fully optimized, fully certified, but also fully trusted, very enterprise grade. Basically, for mission critical tasks, you want to use mission critical tools, both on the software and hardware side. And Quadro really delivers on that promise. And Z1 is a workstation. It needs to be uncompromised, it needs to be full featured, and have full performance. As a result, together HP and Nvidia share an unprecedented level of share by Fortune 1000 companies. So really, Quadro's proven Z1 accommodates everything that Quadro's about. Really what we call the nucleus of this visual computing ecosystem. As I mentioned, HP and Nvidia go way back, over a decade in terms of a focus on customer needs and innovating for customer needs. So we're incredibly proud to be part of this latest generation of innovative workstations. We've got a very common DNA. HP's got ZDNA, and together we share a lot of that DNA that's focused on innovation. So we're both the leaders in workstations. We both really understand how important it is to be intimate with customers, understand what their needs are, what their challenges are, how do we deliver products that address and solve their needs. So that's that culture of innovation. And they're both very trusted brands. So together it's a much stronger solution because of that common DNA. Z1 represents just the latest in the line of very, very custom, very strategic innovations we've done over the past 10 years. Going back actually to the early 2000s with the first multi-GPU SLI workstation. That was the XW9300. Going through and delivering on the first GPU virtualization with Parallels. The first Tesla-based Z workstation, starting to push into other areas like simulation. Small form factors, so lower power GPUs. Scalable vids, very, very large power walls and reality centers. Through Blade workstations and through the first 10-bit color component systems. And so Z1 is just the latest in the line of very unique, very innovative, customer-driven solutions. So in order to pull this off, we basically had to develop, over the course of a multi-year engagement here, a custom line of Quadros for the unique requirements of the Z1 all-in-one workstation. So really, the graphics line that you see in the system was born out of this multi-year collaboration. So the The problem set is how do we go solve for performance without compromise? I think you've seen that through the demos, as well as being able to address these requirements for being whisper quiet. Right? This is a foot away from your head. And then the total serviceability and upgradability, as Josh hit on earlier, that you've got with this system, unlike any other all-in-one in the industry, is the ability basically to custom configure, not only service, but provide upgradability or customization on the fly at these target customers. So let's take the Z1 on one more test drive. So we'll cut over to Autodesk Showcase application. Showcase is a very unique application. More and more mechanical CAD or design is becoming digital prototyping. I'm sure Autodesk is going to hit on this in the next section here. But what we've got here basically is the output of a CAD application directly into Showcase. It's very, very easy to go from a design application into this real-time engine, which is Showcase. And again, what you're seeing here is real-time interactivity with a digital prototype. This easily could be done for a styling or a design review. This easily could be an application for something like marketing communications. You're producing videos or producing your turntable animations. And again, what you're seeing here is test driving the Z1 with a very, very high-end model, a very, very high-end lighting solution in an extremely fluid frame rate. So this is what we call test driving the Z1. And again, it gives you a taste for just the amazing graphics capability of the platform. All right, thank you, Sean. So I think what you've seen here is the quadrant graphics in the Z1 really are about accelerating the workflow in this very unique form factor. Fully certified for a full range of the applications that our users care about most, both in the CAD, the DCCE, and the visualization markets. Extremely high performance, so even though these are very, very quiet, custom developed graphic solutions, they're extremely high performance. And I think you've got all the speeds and feeds in your press kits. We've got a press kit as well for you, and the breakouts we'll make available that drill down in even more detail. But really this is uncompromised capability and performance, as well as this incredibly high visual fidelity, which was super important given the quality of the display in the Z1. Just really the best experience, best uncompromised experience with the most modern graphics capability available. So this does really raise the bar. The system has been covered all day. Really is about producing breakthrough capabilities, productivity for users, especially when they're in a constrained environment. We're going to touch on in the breakout a couple of things. We're going to talk about how applications are increasingly becoming GPU accelerated, how Z1 is very uniquely positioned to take advantage of those applications. And it's going to be not just about graphics, it's going to be about simulation, computation, image processing. So we've got some really great material and some really great demos for everybody to enjoy in the breakouts. We'll really dig deeper and hopefully have a lot of time to answer the questions that you might have about the full line of quadras custom developed for this platform. So with that, again, we'll invite you into the breakouts. There's a number of Nvidia folks here throughout the day, and we'd be more than happy to talk with you one-on-one if there's any follow-up questions. Again, thanks for the time, and very, very excited to be involved.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that. The demo was fantastic, specifically on the showcase where it's going into the Audi. And a lot of you guys actually talked to me at lunch, well, why in the world do you need 1 billion colors on the display? 16 million seems to be fine for me, right? I think that demo really encapsulated the main reason why 1 billion colors is so important, because as he zoomed into that car, if you had a 8-bit monitor supporting only 16 million colors, you would get a lot of jaggies, a lot of banding going on as they float over the car. And now with that 10-bit or 30-bit, 10-bit per pixel or 30-bit display with over 1 billion colors, you get a very smooth representation of the car surface and what have you. And Dan Bennett, are you in the room? Mr. Bennett is not around, but Dan is going to be over here at this experience zone. He is the genius about color space. And if you guys have more questions about that capability, we'd love to give you some examples on how that flows through. But very important for high-end computing, very important for realistic visualization of car models and other things, obviously. So tonight, we've got a special treat for you. We're going to take you over to Viva Elvis, Cirque du Soleil. So you all should have tickets for that. That came in your packet. I'm going to read to you some of the things that are going on there, and think about actual workstation class horsepower it takes to do the design of their set, manage the set as the show's going on, the lighting and everything, and how incredible that is even for a Z1 to do something like that for their design. But realistically, for them, Viva Elvis focuses on the essential humanity of one of the superstars whose name will forever live and be linked with the true history of Las Vegas and the entire world of entertainment, Elvis Presley. While in the theater, pay special attention to the set design, the acrobatic equipment, the props. And again, think about that processing power that it took to actually design their shows. If you've ever seen any of their other shows, it's just amazing, the set and the intricate componentry that they have and how they move. The design of the Elvis Theater has a conventional layout reminiscent of an opera house. The stage is wide, and the backstage area and the wings are vast. They have to accommodate the large-scale set elements and the need for speed in changing scenes imposed by the rapid pace of the show. The sides and the rear of the stage are fixed areas, while the center is composed of 16 platforms separated into 12 sections, which can rise to a height of 10 feet. Depending on the scene, the platforms may at various times in the show support performers, singers, dancers, or even set elements. The widest platform measures 18 feet by 80 feet and is raised by 4 powerful motors 26 feet below the stage. So think about the complexity there, and the workstation class performance they use to design the set, certainly, and manage the whole production of the evening tonight. So it's going to be very exciting. That'll be after our experience zone and kind of dinner or drinks here, and we'll be walking over to that, I think, around 6:20, Jim? Yeah, good. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Chris Bradshaw, good friend of ours from Autodesk. He's been helpful in several of our events, and he's the Chief Marketing Officer for the products at Autodesk. So let's welcome Chris.
Thanks, Jeff, for having us here today. It's a thrill to be here. Participate in the launch of this workstation. It's very exciting. I think you guys have heard a lot about speeds and feeds and the capability of this thing and how it was designed and put together. I'm going to try and give you a little insight into the people we think in our customer base who are going to be using the Z1. And so, to reflect a little bit on that video, everything you saw in that video was created by one of our customers using one or more of our products. And I think that really gives you a sense of the depth and the breadth of the types of users that we have. We think the Z1 is going to be particularly useful and taken up quickly by some of our smaller customers in the beginning, although we do think the Z1 will go across all customer segments. But we want to focus a little bit on the people who we think are going to be out there ramping up quickly with the Z1. So let me tell you a little bit about Autodesk first. So our vision is to help people imagine, design, and create a better world. 30 years ago, we started with this product, AutoCAD for DOS. So AutoCAD is going to be 30 come April of this year. And what's interesting about this as we think about the Z1 and we think about customer segments, in 1982 when AutoCAD came out, there was design and drafting software, but it was only available to very large enterprises who could afford mainframe computers. It wasn't available to small businesses or even medium-sized businesses. And so the revolution that this product created was essentially the democratization of then drafting automation and allowing it to go to small, medium businesses, creating a more level playing field. Today, we have more than 140 products that do a lot more than just drafting. We do design, we do conceptual design, we do simulation, analysis, visualization, as you just saw a moment ago. We are #1 in the film and game industry. This year, like the last 16 years, the Academy Award for Special Effects will go to an Autodesk customer, guaranteed. Because all of the nominees are using our technology. And in fact, all of the nominees for the last 16 years have used our technology. So we've been guaranteed that our customers will win for a long time. So we are now the world leader in 3D design, engineering, and entertainment software. Now, let me explore in a little bit more detail some of the work that our customers do. So this washing machine comes from an Italian company called Desit. They have more than 16,000 employees spread all around the world. And actually, the image you're seeing here, they do a lot of their industrial design in Autodesk Alias, which is running on a Z1 right over here that has the airplane on it. So later, if you want to see Autodesk Alias in action, it's sitting right at this workstation here in the corner. So big company, big products. We also have customers who make very small things. This is a cochlear implant that goes into people who are unable to hear because they're missing their cochlea. This product is designed with Inventor, which is actually sitting on that Z1 right over there next to the one that has Autodesk Alias, so Autodesk Inventor there in the front. This company is an Australian company, 2,500 employees, so they're a medium-sized business. This is a conceptual car. Can't buy this one. And it speaks to certainly the graphics capability. Sometimes it's hard to tell the photos from the models. This is done by an individual. So the absolute smallest possible company you can have, one person. This is a visualization of the New Bay Bridge that is currently under construction. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. So this is a graphic CG. This particular work was done by Parsons Brinckerhoff, who are a giant civil engineering firm, 14,000 employees worldwide, and they're a huge user of lots of our technology both in the design, visualization, and they use our technology to simulate how this bridge actually is going to be constructed and the traffic flow. This weekend coming up, this bridge is going to be shut down for 3 days while they do a portion of the construction. And they model that and they show all the people in the Bay Area how that's going to work. This is clearly an architectural example. This comes from an architect in Berlin. And this is not a photograph. This is a rendering of their design. This is a 6-person architecture firm. Okay, so very small business. And you can see that they use AutoCAD architecture, and Revit, which by the way are over here on these 2 workstations in the back. So if you want to see Autodesk's Revit or Autodesk AutoCAD architecture, back over there in the corner. So 6-person firm, small architecture firm. This rendering was done by a gentleman in Poland. My microphone dying? All right, how about that? Oh, now I can be Elvis. You guys definitely don't want that. So this is a rendering done. This gentleman uses AutoCAD. He also uses 3ds Max. Again, a 1-person firm working in Poland. And then final example from our media and entertainment space. This comes from Blur, an example of work that's done in film and automation. This firm's about a couple hundred people, about 200, which is a lot of times you think about Pixar, or you think about Lucas, or you think about Weta, these really big companies in that industry, but there are lots and lots and lots of small, medium businesses in the film and game industry, in the supply pipelines of those big houses. So this particular one, Blur, is, as I said, only a couple hundred people. Okay, so what I hope to have provided you is a little bit of insight into this triangle, which describes the breadth of our customers in terms of size. So we have thousands of accounts that we classify as enterprise customers, meaning they have more than 5,000 employees, like Parsons Brinkerhoff or Desset, as I showed. Then we have tens of thousands of accounts in that small, medium business category, like the Australian company doing the cochlear ear implant. And then we have a category that we call professionals. Some of the analysts call this very small businesses. It's firms with less than 10 employees. Where we have literally hundreds of thousands of accounts in this category. And a lot of these, I have to tell you, are firms of 1, 2, and 3 people. So there's a lot of tiny, tiny companies, consultants, analysts doing analysis, etc., in the supply chains of all of our larger customers. And now, these guys get to enjoy a huge breadth of our technology, and in the last 2 years we've begun to combine many of our standalone products into suites so that we can service the needs of the very small with our suites, as well as enterprise customers and sort of everything in between. So the bottom line here is we have customers that are big, medium, and small. We have customers who demand very high-end workstations, frankly above the Z1. But we have a lot of customers who we think can take advantage of the Z1 for sure. And so that makes HP a really great partner for us. Because again, if you think about all the different workstations produced, the 800, the 400, the 600, the 200, and now the 1, we see our customers right across that entire family. And what's interesting is the size of the customer doesn't necessarily equate to the size of the computer in all cases. We can have very small companies with Z800s. But in general, we find that the smaller businesses are using the more, down at the Z1 type of capability. So we think that the sweet spot for our customers with the Z1 is going to be in that SMB and professional space, those smaller firms. And even in the SMB, we think in the beginning it's likely to be the smaller end of that. We also think in particular, and this was shared earlier this morning, we think the architecture, engineering, and construction market are going to be particularly excited about the Z1, because a lot of the issues that have been talked about are directly relevant to these guys. So architects, civil engineers, mechanical engineers, etc. Those firms dominate in terms of numbers inside that SMB and pro space. So let's explore a little bit one of these guys. This is a very, very typical setting for an SMB architect. You see the workspace is pretty small there in terms of what they have. This is also, by the way, their corporate briefing center, right? So when their customers come in to visit, this is what they see. And so these guys want to make sure their workspace reflects the quality of their work as well. They don't want it to be too junky because, remember, they're in the business of designing things and making them look good. And so they want a workspace that's going to make them look good. They also have to go out to job sites. So the portability of the Z1 was talked about this morning about putting that in a construction trailer. We absolutely think that's going to happen. And again, it's a nice form factor for being able to go and be mobile. And then certainly these guys are looking for performance, right? There's no question about that. And we've had a lot of talk about the speeds and the feeds of the Z1. You've seen live demo. You can go and see in these stations later just exactly how well these perform. But it's important that these guys are going to be able to do the visualization, the rendering especially, and some of the analysis capability. And there we see, again, the Z1 hits that sweet spot for a lot of these SMB and pro size AEC firms. The last piece, I think it speaks to not only the simplicity, but the aesthetics that the Z1 offers. And so, you know, this looks an awful lot like places I've been. I'm sure maybe some of your offices might look this way. This whole notion of a million cables, everything being all connected up, and it just doesn't look very neat. And when you go into an office that has a whole bunch of Z1s, you're going to see a very different kind of look and feel to that office, we think. And we think, therefore, the architects and the engineers for whom aesthetics are important are going to be very attracted to the Z1. So, to summarize, we really think that there's a great marriage here between Autodesk and HP, and that we're going to, again, invigorate the small businesses, not unlike we did in 1982 with AutoCAD, and that architects, engineers, civil engineers are going to really, I think, appreciate the Z1, and they're going to fall in love. And I had to put this red heart up here for Valentine's Day. This was done by a 16-year-old in one of our products called Sketchbook. And she's special to me because it was my daughter. So I had to get a little nod out to her. With that, I invite you guys to check out the workstations in the breakout room. There's 4 different ones running Autodesk technology. You can see for yourself that the Z1 absolutely performs. And of course, you already saw a little bit of that in the last presentation. And again, I want to thank HP very much for having us here, and look forward to spending some time with some of you later on. Thanks.
All right, wonderful. Great opportunities with Autodesk, obviously, and their product portfolio. All right, it's time for our breakouts. And let me tell you some of the logistics here. We'll be going and starting the HP Z1 teardown in Raphael Conference Room number 1, straight back. And the folks from Asia Pacific and Japan and Latin America will start in that room, okay? We will be doing innovations with the HP Z1, moderated panel discussion with our R&D folks and my marketing manager. I want the folks from EMEA to start there in Raphael number 2. And then talking about the Z1 graphics with our friends from Nvidia. We want the Canadian folks and the US folks to start there in Raphael number 3, and then you'll just rotate up through each of these activities.